Tuesday, March 10th, 2022 to order. We all rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance together.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Jamie, will you please call the roll?
Councilman Jeff DePel.
Here.
Councilwoman Jill Cole. Here. Councilman Lisa Walker.
Here.
Councilman Brian Gant.
Here.
Vice Mayor Promotion Barry.
Here.
Councilwoman Katie Schneider. Here. Mayor Mark Serkin.
Here.
7 present.
Do I have a motion to accept tonight's agenda?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes of February 10th, 2022?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Jamie, do we have any communications to council?
There are none tonight, Howard.
Are there any reports from outside agencies? The mayor's report for February of 2022 will be entered into the public record. The state forfeiture's year-end report for 2021 will also be entered into the public record. Do I have a motion to accept the financial report for February of 2022?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're going to move to hearings from citizens. If you wish to speak, please approach the microphone and state your name and address. If you have any materials to pass out, please give them directly to the corporate counsel, which is Jamie Eifert. Please keep your comments as brief as possible to allow others a chance to be heard. Hearings from citizens is for us to listen to you and your neighbors. It is very unlikely we will make any remarks immediately after you speak. We need to have a chance to reflect on your comments, research the subject, consider city codes and legal issues. Sometimes during miscellaneous business, we do revisit an issue brought forward. The clerk of council will notify you when 3 minutes has passed, and at that point, please wrap up the presentation. Most importantly, that's all treat each other calmly and with respect.
Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Hemang Dhamija, and I'm a resident of Blue Ash. Last year, August, I rented an apartment at the Approach Apartments at the Summit Park. And, it's kind of been like a mixed feeling there, a lot of like noise issues I had. It started, day one, my downstairs neighbors, they complained, nothing was done about that. There was other issues which just are getting solved. Water pressure was abysmally low, so can't even take a decent shower. And you keep complaining about it. They're like, we're going to install some pumps. And so that's happening now. With the noise issue though, it was bad enough where I had to call the non-emergency police. I do have a report there. And since November, I've contacted the management there. I'm saying, hey, let me out of my lease. I don't want to live here. Did not get responses back then. Now, finally, when I've given my notice, like I want to leave, they're saying you owe us 2 months of notice, standard, whatever was in the lease agreement, 2 months of rent plus a month that was given free. So 3 months of rent after the 2 months of notice too. And the noise issues weren't the only thing. A lot of false fire alarms, which I'm sure cost the city money too every time, the fire department runs over there. Some of them have been 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in night. And I'm just not sure, if the management is taking up to their responsibilities there. So I did reach out to their corporate. It was bad enough that I wanted to, just aggravating. And they market it as luxury apartments. So when you're paying money for it, I want to see something happening at least, there. So I just wanted to bring this up to you guys, and at least get it noted. There's other residents with similar grievances that probably would want to add to this thread. So I don't know if there's any takeaway from here today, or like you said, later on, we would like to keep adding to it too. And then that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? See nobody, we're going to move on to committee reports. I promised a couple residents the other night I would say 2 things. One is when we're doing a presentation down the floor, we can use the portable mic. because they said they couldn't hear. I think it was like the beautification awards, and that was my fault when we were going in and out. And I said I would bring it up. And the other thing they asked for was if we could do a quick, and we do usually a quick summary before motions so that everybody understands what it's for. I did point them and say, hey, the municipal bulletins in the there too, and that gives you a very good detail of what the resolution is about. But that being said, they just requested that, so I'm passing that along. So we're going to move to Finance and Administration Committee. These are Wonka chairperson.
First off, I have a motion setting a public hearing for Thursday, March 24th, 2022 at 7:05 p.m. to consider an application for a designated outdoor refreshment area, thus referred to as DORA, at Summit Park and the neighborhoods at Summit Park. Do I have a
Second.
Second.
all in favor? Aye. And then Adora is a defined area. In this case, it would be basically Summit Park for refreshments. And there's different rules and regulations that come along with that. Besides the defined areas, you have to buy cups and cup for drinks. And you have markers to mark off the area and such. That's what it is.
And the cup has to come from one of the restaurants.
Correct. Correct. So we'll have that hearing March 24th. Next, Jamie, please read resolution number 2022-12 by title only.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a multi-year collective bargaining agreement with the International Association of Firefighters, Local 3203 Fire Lieutenants Bargaining Unit.
Move to adopt resolution number 2022-12.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Jamie, please call roll.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka?
Yes.
Councilman Capell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cole? Yes. Vice Mayor Javari?
Yes.
Councilman Gap?
Yes.
Mayor Serkin?
Yes.
7 yeses.
All I have there.
Good. We'll move to the Public Works Committee, Councilwoman Joe Cole.
Thank you, Mayor. Jamie, would you please read resolution 2022-13 by title only?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with the 2022 paving program and the unit prices as shown on the attached bid summary.
Can I move to adopt resolution 2022-12?
Second.
13.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
As the title says, it's pretty self-explanatory. This is just a bid to do the paving that's been identified as being necessary in the city. Some of the streets are Thrasher, Kenridge, Chimney Hill Lane, Chimney Court, Chimney Sweet Lane, and others that we can find available in the packet. Or did you have anything to do with that? I think the prices were a little bit higher than what we had suspected, but that's not very surprising in this climate. Are there any other questions or comments? Jamie, please call the roll.
Councilman Yap?
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka?
Yes.
Councilman Capell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Javari?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cole?
Yes,
Mayor Serkin?
Yes.
7 yeses.
that's all I have. Mayor.
Thanks. Okay, we're moving to the Public Safety Committee, Councilwoman Joe.
Jamie, please read resolution number 2022-14 by title only.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a 2-year professional services contract with Flock Group, Inc. for license plate reader camera services.
I move that we adopt resolution number 2022-14.
Second.
So what this is doing is it's funding a license plate reader system essentially for the police department. It's replacing the current one, which has become rather obsolete. Chief, did you have anything you wanted to say on that?
Not any questions.
Okay, thanks. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Javari?
Yes.
Councilman Gap?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cole?
Yes,
Councilman Capell?
Yes.
Mayor Serkin?
Yes.
7 yeses.
Okay, moving to old business, I would like to make a motion to take ordinance 2022-01 off the table.
Second.
All in favor of taking it off the table?
Aye.
Anybody want to discuss this?
Mr. Mayor, I move to postpone indefinitely consideration of ordinance 2022-01.
I'm sorry, did you say you want to postpone?
It's a motion to postpone indefinitely. The effect would be to kill consideration of it. My thought is that if a majority of us don't want this, then there's no reason to perfect it. If the majority of us want this, then I would be happy to spend some time in helping to perfect.
I think you need to wording's a little off on word postponement. You would all just vote it up and down, yes or no.
Mr. Solicitor?
It's a proper,
It's a proper motion under the chart.
So you don't want us to vote on it, you just want to put it on the table
This-
forever?
It's
Just trying, I just don't know.
Sure. City Code 11107J says that we have a motion to postpone consideration of future time uncertain, and will consider as a motion to repeat the question. So what this would do is if four of us vote in favor of this, I still don't have a second, so I can tell you something. If four of us vote in favor of it, it's dead. If four of us vote against it, then it's worth perfecting because a majority of council wants to move forward with it. So a vote in favor of this motion would be a vote against the ordinance.
Unless I'm understanding something wrong, Counselor, his motion is just saying we're just not gonna talk about it, we're just done.
To an indefinite time, in which case it could come back, in which case you would start the process.
Which is what we already did, right?
Because you have a first,
We already, yes.
We already did that.
and I just, sorry, you laid it on the table and you resurrected it, so now you need, and you've been through a first reading already, so all you need is a second reading tonight, and you pass it. Mr. Gas' motion is to postpone to a definite time, which again, under the code of ordinances, would say that that would defeat the question, we would defeat the ordinance, or at least you would have to resurrect it again, do a first reading and so forth. You could always bring it back, like any council's not.
It would have the same effect as if we voted it down without.
Right, without voting it on it, correct?
Okay.
Does that answer your question? I'm sorry.
I think so, he's basically just saying he just wants to retake it.
In some
Very
areas,
similar to that.
in some words, but the difference between tabling it and under the code and bringing it up for an indefinite time would be the indefinite time kills the question, which means you have to come back for a first reading. Table just means you've already done the first reading, you're back to where you are, just only have a second reading, you're ready to go.
All right, so there's a
And the
motion.
the motion is on the floor, which needs to be addressed,
Does
correct?
anybody get a second, Mr. Gas' motion?
So I can see some confusion there. Certainly, part of that issue is a procedural thing. You're welcome to handle how you want it. I think from experience and direction, if there's enough votes to just kill it, to say no, I would suggest you just vote no. That way, the community, staff, all knows this issue isn't coming back rather than a parliamentary issue. What I would suggest. Your preference is what will follow.
Well, only speaking for myself, I would preference we move forward, vote yes or no, and get this issue decided. It's been since last April, so retable it again. Why second?
It's not a motion to table, and it has the. I'll spend all the time you want, right?
Let's see if there's a second. Is there a second?
Is there a second? If there isn't, then let's talk about what's the ordinance 2021, and then we can, if we want to, go ahead and actually vote on it. So if anybody's got any comments that we haven't been through multiple times.
We need a second first, just procedurally.
But unless no one says it, then it doesn't.
Then it dies, correct.
And so then we need a motion to adopt, and then we can discuss this.
Okay.
So you had a motion to bring it back on the table, but now.
We're still on the motion to move to a indefinite time. We don't have a second.
They all agree it's a second, so Mark's not bringing it back to his motion.
Well, have we determined yet that there's been no second? If we've done that, then yes, you're back to now it's off the table, you can discuss it, now you need a motion to adopt.
Okay. We'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2022-01 so that we can discuss it. Do you want to discuss that? Okay.
All right, now your discussion.
Anyone?
Well, I can, as often I do, I can kick it off. My feeling on this all along is I kind of started from the position that roads are not just for cars, that they can be, that people can walk or bike or do other things, that's good too. But it also has to be done safely and rationally. And so, I think I've mentioned before, like my opinion of somebody driving a low-speed vehicle on Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock is certainly a whole lot more favorable than my opinion of somebody driving a low-speed vehicle on Monday morning at 8:15 or Friday afternoon at 4:55. There's different issues going on the road there. So I think if we have the ordinance on the table, we should try to make it as good an ordinance as possible, try to keep as much of the good and try to legislate out the bad or the detriments to it. So with that, I'm going to have a motion. I mean, I have some copies that people needed, but it's literally one sentence, so I don't know if anyone's even going to ask for it. And it's just, I'll read the motion and then make the motion for my amendment. And so what I will motion to do is it will state, no low-speed or underspeed vehicle may be operated on any city street on workdays, which I'm defining as Monday through Friday except federal holidays, between 7 to 9 a.m. and 4 to 6 p.m. So basically then, if this amendment would pass and then the ordinance we have on the table would pass, it would essentially allow low-speed vehicles, but not between those pivotal rush hours between 7 and 9 and 4 to 6 on workdays. So if anybody wants a copy of that one line, just put your hand up. I'm happy to send it around. If not, then I will make the motion then to amend the legislation to state that no low speed or underspeed vehicle may be operated on any city street on workdays defined as Monday through Friday except federal holidays between 7 to 9 a.m. and 4 to 6 p.m. Is there a second to my motion?
First, I'd like to say, we have a one motion on the table. How can we have a second motion on the table? First,
It's an amendment.
amendment first off. So is it possible that,
Yes.
that when we have to write it down, all these things in the motion?
He's done that with this, so it is a motion to amend. If there's a second, council can vote on it. If it's not, there feels for lack of second.
Yes, so is there a second to my motion or not? And I'm seeing no, so that I guess ends my idea here.
Now back to the motion to adopt what was provided to you. What, a month ago?
Discussion
So back to the original.
Back to the original, which you've already had first reading.
Mr. Mayor. I move to insert on page 4, after 34303H, the following 34304, this chapter shall cease to have effect on June 10th, 2024.
That is a motion to amend. You need a second.
I did not understand. You can beneficiate.
Yeah, the motion effect is to put a sunset clause on this. We always said that we can always repeal it. This is a minor change that says it dies unless we decide to extend it. So if everything's great in 2 years, if somebody wants to continue it, they move to remove this and it goes on. Otherwise, it dies after 2 years.
Is there a second on that motion?
Okay.
None. Back to the original motion on the second
Discussion.
on these.
As far as discussion purposes, plain and simple. I'm going to vote against this because, first of all, we're not a resort type town for these kinds of vehicles. Okay, this is Blue Ash. We're more business oriented city, so I don't see a need for this, at least at this point in time, at all. So
I think it's just not in character, the makeup of our city, and at some point, there might be technology that's different, and cars and vehicles that are different, or traffic patterns are different, but I just don't see that it makes sense, especially with the small number of people that appear to be interested.
Yeah, I think the ordinance as written, I'm not really keen on. I think had we amended it well, we probably could have had something passable. But it's probably not this. I do want to say though, before we kill it, I think we have to come to better grips with what roads are for and how they're used. Because every argument that we're using against low speed vehicles can quite easily be used to ban bicycles off the road if we even had the authority to do that, which I don't believe we do. Because let's remember, bicycles go slower than low speed vehicles. Bicycles provide less crash protection than low speed vehicles. And those are kind of the arguments we use against low speed vehicles. If 50 or 100 more people who work in Blue Ash decided to adopt a let's ride our bike to work today, that would have a heck of a lot more impact on our streets than anything we'd be passing here. So, I mean, clearly we're not going to pass the ordinance, but I think we do want to keep in mind the bigger picture of what are roads for, how can they be used, and what's already being done with the roads as we speak.
I just wanted to say a few things that we need. What we need to do is just like instead of postponing, instead of adding all these things, it looks like we need to just discuss, get the vote, and get it over with this. That's what I feel like that we need to do. I don't know what the table there. You have anything to say?
No, I've made my position on this and many times, and I think I agree it's time to vote on it. So, Jamie, will you please call the roll?
Councilman Capell,
No.
Councilman Gann,
No.
Councilman Zerwanka,
No.
Councilwoman Schneider, no. Councilwoman Cole, no. Vice Mayor Javari,
No.
Mayor Serkin,
Yes.
1 yes, 6 no's.
Okay. I'm glad we made a decision, move forward. Everybody was very engaged. I really appreciate that. And I absolutely appreciate your decisions. Okay, we're going to move to miscellaneous business, the Kenwood Cooper Corner project update. I don't know if David, you want to start off or Mr. Lund. So,
We'll go ahead and just, whatever order you're gonna have coming up and just walk through it.
Good evening. How are you? I feel like it was just a couple days ago we were here. Wasn't it? Purpose of, well, first of all, thanks for having me. So it's good to be back. Wanted to just really sort of talk about where we are today, what we've accomplished since the last time we were here, providing an update and sort of our roadmap and our path forward from this point forward. So last time we were in council, I think it was the 13th of January, Dean gave a bit of an update on the plan, some of the modifications that we had made just with regard to the program. Got everybody up to speed on sort of the physical attributes of the project. Since then, we've done, I think, 3 meaningful things. One, we met with the Sycamore schools. We talked a little bit about some ways to sort of help support on the infrastructure side. I think that initial conversation was well received, and we're in an active dialogue to kind of continue down that path. We did also more recently here have a discussion with Blue Ash and the Department of Engineering around traffic, determining what the expectations would be with regard to a traffic study, so that we can scope that and see what that would look like from a timing perspective moving forward. And then, of course, I think the most meaningful sort of endeavor that we had, of course, was the community open house that we had here on Monday night. We thought that the turnout was quite excellent. We probably, maybe 100, 110 people, very engaged conversation, really around, I think, a lot of different components and facets of the project. We thought that, generally speaking, it was a very positive perspective. All comments, good and bad. We enjoyed addressing, any questions and thoughts that people had about the project, and we were happy to be here. Generally speaking, we thought it was a beneficial session, and of course would be welcome to address any other open forums like that in the future. Sort of moving forward, our plan at this point is to prepare our PUD package on a concept plan for planning. We were shooting for the late March kind of kickoff to get through that. We think with the current requirements on what we need to do from a traffic perspective, just given the nature of the study, how much time might be involved in doing that, we'll have to look towards probably the end of April and maybe even May for submitting our full kind of concept plan on the permitting side. With regard to continued community engagement, we do have two meetings set up, one with the Blue Ash Business Alliance. We're going to have that meeting on May 5th, and then a follow-on meeting, another meeting with the Rotary Club, and that's going to be on June 21st. So excited for sort of more engagement with the business community to understand from the business perspective, how we can engage appropriately. On the development activity side, I've sort of mentioned a little bit about the traffic study. We expect that to be an incredibly detailed study around traffic, and we're in the process of scoping that and kicking that off. Plan to have, of course, continued discussions with the school, with Sycamore around some support on the infrastructure side. And then I think lastly, just so nobody gets concerned, we do have a remediation effort on the property. Many of you know there was an old dry cleaner there. The extent of the contamination was, of course, larger than expected, which seems to always be the case. So we will, at some point, probably within the next month, kick off a process around remediation, which will include excavating a fairly large amount of material. And so just want to sort of get that out there, that we're not jumping the gun from a construction perspective and doing anything too crazy, but just looking to get the property clean. And I did want to thank you all for your support of our package for the Brownfield grant. We've not heard yet, but we're hoping to in the next week to two. And so that's sort of our plan at this point. Happy to answer any questions that you may have, or cover any other topics that would be of interest.
Just a quick comment. I'm glad to hear the words traffic study, because I know when I was talking with the residents who live nearby, that was clearly the biggest concern that they had, that didn't have any clear answer without further study. So I'll be anxious to see the results of that.
Yes, yeah. I mean, of course, we would never want to develop a property that creates, any type of, any type of risk or harm. So we're excited about the results of the traffic study as well. We believe that the end product will be safer than what I think is there currently.
The other issue that was brought up to me a couple of times was just a concern about parking. Shared parking sounds great, and obviously it'll work, but just the total number of spots, if the apartments have, two drivers, and they would be taking a lot of their shared spots. There was some concern to really look at that and make sure that's enough. I mean, in one sense, it's your problem, but on the other hand, it's hard for the project. It's certainly not good. So
yeah,
that was the only thing I kept hearing. Fairly consistent, just concern.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And of course, parking and convenience of parking is a driver for residents, commercial uses, office uses, and so we're going to want to get that right.
I have similar feedback also on the parking. Maybe it's not enough, maybe it needs a little more, so if you look into that. And the other comments were for some residents on the back side of the project, current residents, I should say, of light pollution. So if you look into that on the front end.
Yeah, so I think obviously to address the parking, we of course have gone through parking studies. If we sort of parked it per code, we would be at about 25% more parking spaces. And, of course, that's not necessarily environmentally friendly. It's not cost effective when, we can do these time studies that demonstrate, especially given the mixed use nature of the property, when that you're going to revolve cars in and out, and when your highest peak periods are going to be, and when you can get some of this overlap. Of course, we'll study that to be efficient. I think on the lighting side in particular, with regard to the back, that's going to be a bit of a balancing act. We had some people say, hey, I hope there's going to be good lighting back here, because that could be a dangerous area, where you've got this through road, behind the property. And then of course we want to be sensitive to the residents to make sure that they're not getting washed out and it's overdone. I think fortunately we'll be in a position to provide, incredibly high quality, lighting package back there.
Yeah, one question I have. I just wanted to know that how did you come up with the number of parking at 650? How did you come up with that number?
I can take a shot at it, or Dean can. I don't know if you remember, it might have been 2 sessions ago. Dean, who's our architect with Res Tark, it is basically a time elapsed sort of analysis of when people would be coming and going based on the square footage. And so what it does is it essentially gives you levels of parking for each use at certain times of the day, and then looks at sort of the highest point in which you would have the most use, and that dictates your sort of total amount of parking. And so that's the analysis that we went through. I think, Dean, you pulled it from a resource that you had access to.
Yes, there are a number of resources. One of them is Urban Land Institute. They have parking ratio calculators. We used another calculator tool, but I think there's probably not one definitive way to measure. So what we like to do is use a spectrum of measurements and make sure they're confirming our assumptions across using industry standards.
Your answer would be better than mine.
Mr. Lund, are you aware of other projects, mixed-use projects, hopefully in the area, that use this kind of shared use parking that we might take a look at or investigate?
Yeah, there aren't a ton of mixed-use projects in the area just because we're not a vertical mixed-use type kind of region generally. I think one that I could point to that probably could use more of that mixing that I don't think used the resources of parking as effectively maybe is Kenwood Collection. So the tower there, the office tower with the retail, obviously retail has gone through, especially with the cinema that's there, has gone through a little bit of a downturn, but from an outside analysis looking at that, it seems like there's always a lot more parking than what's needed. I understand some of that maybe was driven by the Port Authority, and I don't know the background on all of that. Obviously that whole site has a lot of turmoil throughout its history, but I think that's one example of where maybe it wasn't done as effectively as it could have, and maybe that garage could have been sized down and saved everybody cost, and maybe some of the volume that's there as well could have been reduced.
Yeah, and I'll also
add to that, Brian, a few years ago, we updated our land use plan and our zoning code. We actually relied on some initiatives in other states saying there tends to be an overparking by zoning criteria throughout the country. None more evidenced by the vast fields of parking that we have right on the highway. And so at that time, council at that time made a decision to go on parking diet, and instead of standardized parking requirements, said, okay, let's make it unique to that. And when I see the literature in other downtown environments, when I see downtown, not strictly urban city, but suburban downtown areas, they're finding a lot of benefit for shared parking, or it's more environmentally friendly. There's a number of reasons for it. So the very first project, just to give you a perspective on what changed drastically, was Target. And under our old code, Target required X number. And under our new code, we said, okay, just give us parking counts and what have you. They ran a cash register on Christmas Eve, their biggest thing, and they found that had we used the old code, I forget what the percentage was, but they ended up parking maybe 50% of what our code was, and they said even then they don't think it will, and they anecdotally they have never been full, even using 50% of the old standards. So we really have under realization it's not parking per square feet, what have you, it's understanding the traffic patterns. So as long as they do that job well as part of that analysis, I think it'll be fine.
I think it's really smart. There's no reason to build parking garages or to take up space that we could use for the green area or whatever else. I guess I'm just saying, I'm always reticent to be first. I imagine we're not first. I'd love to be able to point to a development somewhere else and say, look, they've done it and it worked well. It may not be here in Cincinnati.
Well, the other thing too, Mr. Jeff, just in my other jurisdictions, I know 2 other jurisdictions have adopted Alesha's approach from years ago about not having a particular parking requirement and looking at site specific, including Delhi, and they have found it to be much more effective than kind of site specific. You just need, my point is not to make any particular advocacy of any point, but other than to recognize that other jurisdictions have adopted a Blue approach.
I think it's just complicated to explain maybe to some folks, and so to be able to point to a physical thing and say, there's one, and this is what we want to do.
I think we can certainly do that, Adam. Mark, I misunderstood your question. I thought you were talking about, is there one here, locally that we could address? There are ones in other markets.
Ideally, it's in Cincinnati somewhere, but
we can certainly, understanding your perspective, I think we can certainly surface up some case studies of some other mixed use projects, whether they be in San Jose or Dallas or some other markets where they've accomplished this task on the parking side.
I heard some concerns, not a lot, but just over whether the noise might be an issue for those that live behind where the development will be. Is that a concern? I know that the distance between the properties and the road for the building is going to be quite a bit, but.
Yeah, I think there's two things there, actually. One, we expect the buffer area to be fairly large. And of course, you've got the railroad tracks, we've got a pretty good buffer. We've got the building, the way it's built, we don't really build it up to the property line. We kind of step it back. And so, of course, I don't think those residential components are going to be incredibly loud. It's not like that's where the sort of civic areas are, where you're going to get a lot of mixing. I'll also say that, and we have this in another project currently down on the corner of Madison and Red Bank, a very busy intersection, directly catty corner from Crossroads Church, very busy intersection, relatively small 1 acre site. We put 19 townhouses up, and what we've had is the residents actually come to us and say, this is amazing because you've actually reduced the noise from an intersection that would generally be loud, where we could have heard trucks, where we actually had a lot of light. Like ambient light coming off the intersection. So I don't know that Cooper and Kenwood is that busy, but I think there is also things that we kind of bring that mass. It also helps sort of deaden sounds from, other types of corridors as well.
if I might, one more question from somebody who's just new. I heard you say that you were hoping to complete your PUD paperwork April, May, and I assume that means planning commission soon thereafter. Can you give me a rough outline of your timeline that you're looking at right now, knowing that it'll blow up next week as soon as?
Yeah, what's the total timeline?
I can actually go to that from experience with PEDs. It would be the first time they've done with us, but we've done a dozen with other developer. It's simply a matter of whatever month they want to, they have the stuff, if they get it in by a certain date, which is typically about 2 weeks before planning commission, then the planning commission will be the first process. After that, council will set a public hearing, and you will then not know what the exact schedule is, but if they submitted it in April for a May planning commission meeting, you probably would be reviewing this in maybe July, because in the summer we don't have no meetings, so sometimes we miss that cycle by a few days, the 30-day notice and everything else. And I could see this being July or August.
Yeah, we were pushing for the sort of May 21st date, and there was a submission date around that would have got us, I think, a little bit earlier before the sort of summer recess. That's a little bit more inefficient, but with the traffic study and some of those results needing to be in time, we probably would make that.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. Thank you all. Appreciate it. See you soon.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move to miscellaneous business. David.
There's a number of things staff can say, so I won't steal the thunder. The only thing I will say is a follow-up to that. I appreciate they continue to be responsive and take their time. This project being rushed and discussing. So they heard the traffic study comments and some other analysis. So with that, I have nothing else.
Kelly?
Nothing negative.
Chief? No. Sherry? Jamie? Julie?
Mayor, I thought Kelly was going to mention it, that we attended a ready meeting with Vice Mayor, and this is the REG is the annual, or is the Regional Economic Development organization that we contribute to. And at the annual meeting, they obviously promote all the good things that happen. They also give out awards, and Blue Edge was one of the recipients of the award with the Productivity Project that you helped incentivize. In fact, it was the largest project that got awarded. I think there was 5 or 6 awards. That project, just to recall, was I think 450 jobs, and the next project was 400 jobs, and then after that, there were a couple of projects in the dozens of jobs being created. To give you a perspective on that, but it was nice that we received the award, and Vice Mayor PJ was there to cheer them on.
Yeah, they could tell us apart. That's what it is. Corey.
Yeah, just 2 updates. Number one, our plant field and hunt project is picking back up, so it slowed down during winter time. So that's going to really take off. We'll be seeing multiple crews out. They're right now working on finishing up the remainder of the sidewalk at the Kroger roundabout. And then they're going to continue moving further to the east with storm sewer, underground utility work and things like that. So just please remind your constituents that are carefully through there. The roundabout, I have to say, is working very well. And so I'm very pleased about how that's going, even though it's not completed. So, and then the second update, I was just going to let you know that we're working on finalizing, we're going to be working on getting the plans ready for the Summit Park Tower improvements that we talked about previously. And we hope to get that out to bid sometime in May. So that we can have summertime construction.
Thank you. Graves.
Thank you, Mayor. Just 2 quick updates. Just to notice real quickly that our mowing contract that we typically have out for the Parks Department has grown. And this is a Parks Department pivoting kind of labor shortage issues that we're facing right now. So our mowing contract usually is small enough to where we have to pass a resolution for it. It's usually underneath the bid threshold. And probably that will not be the case this year. We have it out to bid now. We had to add additional properties to it. So typically our own staff can take care of a lot of these properties, but we had to add to it. For example, we have 12 to 14 positions that we need to fill on the part-time side of things for parks. And as of last week, those positions have been posted since December 1st, and we've had 2 applicants. So hopefully that picks up. But I think it's a little bit of the sign of the times, and this is the park's opportunity to kind of pivot and see, different methods to take care of those responsibilities the Parks Department has. So that is out on the street now. We're hoping that we can combat some of that additional cost with savings on salaries, but it's very likely that that's going to even out. So there might be a fee resolution that comes along with that, a little more. On the 17th. And then real quickly, we passed a resolution a couple sessions ago for a rough mower at the golf course. So much like Chris, when we get that in, we'll make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to ride it and look at it. We have it wrapped fire engine red, so it'll match. And we ordered it, and thanks to supply chain shortages, we ordered it just recently. We'll get it September 2026. So look forward to that. So that's it. Thank you.
Thanks. Chief Peters.
Just wanted to say thank you for those of you who came out and saw our new command vehicle for the fire department. It has been well over a year of a lot of work designing. We're very, very happy to have that, and the support of city administration and you all for us to push that. I know we'll be here for very many, many years to protect the citizens of Blue Ash. So that's why I'm trying.
Councilor Pacheco.
Thank you, Mayor. Could just to make you aware, and I know you've seen all the municipal league bulletins on this, but the Ohio General Assembly is considering, Kelly help me, is it House Bill 561 or Senate Bill 561? Whatever, doesn't matter. One of those two, which would essentially get rid of your ability as a city to regulate Airbnbs. So just be aware that that's out there. Obviously, council approximately a year ago, maybe 2 now, regulated in that area, and be aware that the General Assembly is again taking a shot at home rule, in my opinion, as to whether or not the council can regulate in that area. So again, nothing's been passed yet, it's still up for consideration, but be aware of that.
So, you know, our lobbyist already working on that.
Yeah, there is a leak all over it.
Thank you. Jill?
Well, nothing too much other than, thanks for sharing the new command vehicle. That was really wonderful to see. And, you know, public safety is very important to all of our citizens, and it's wonderful to have this tool. And also just a shout out and thanks to the people, the citizens that came on Monday night and looked at this project and offered their opinions and their ideas. And we really appreciate that engagement in our community. So that's all I have.
Jeff?
Yeah, I'll echo what Jill said on thanks to the citizens who came out and shared their perspectives on the project. Otherwise, I don't have anything too deeply specific on Blue Ash government. Just make a general note on good government practices. But then just the past few days, we've seen a couple of local governments really step in it due to elected officials who kind of forgot what their role is. You had one local government that wanted to regulate where you can place the soda on the menu. They probably should have just called it "the citizens are too dumb to order their dinner bill." And then after massive blowback, they pulled back and said, we're not going to do it. And then we had another local government that wanted to go after a group that, according to their numbers, has raised $1 million for charity over the past 40 years because the guys who play the sports games were wearing skirts, and the trustees wanted to do something about that. And, you know, something to talk about, and then like the previous local government, they got a ton of blowback and pulled back and then decided not to go forward with doing anything on that. Sometimes I think elected officials forget why they are there and why they are not there. I think it's pretty safe to say that regulating soda placement on menu and regulating people's skirts is probably not why we're in government. I hope that you know, Blue Ash and everywhere else will continue to keep our eye on the long-term perspective, and let's serve the residents. Let's do the work on why we're here to do the work, and not get sidetracked on just completely idiotic issues like that.
Just because I sat through a 2-hour meeting last night on the skirt game, just to be clear, I don't think that was fairly portrayed as the trustees taking any action. It was making suggestions to the skirt game committee about what they could do or not do, but ultimately it's up to the skirt game. And having sat through it for 2 hours last night, I'm not offensive with your point, Mr. Capel. Just having sat through that meeting for 2 hours last night, it was not something the trustees did or said that they did. They made suggestions. It was up to the skirt game to do whatever the skirt game wants to do at any rate.
And insinuated they might use their power to not work out a contract with them to use the field if they don't make certain changes. But
Well, in fairness, it's only if the lawyer gave advice to not do that.
I'm glad I did not have to sit for 2 hours of that, so I'm very sympathetic to you. That's all I had.
Wait.
I was here Monday night. It was great to see the great number of people or residents that came for the presentation. The guys did a nice job with that. A lot of good feedback, both positive, negative. It goes both ways. So I thought it was a great success. So, other than that, that's all I'm here.
Katie?
Yeah, my comment again is about the open house as well. It was great to see so many people interested, engaged, asking questions. I think we heard a lot of questions, and after talking with people and then learning more about it, I think changed some opinions or at least help them understand a little better what was happening, what was going on. So I think overall it's positive, and everyone, not everybody, but most people I think are looking forward to it and excited about it. I know I am. So.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I woke up this morning and decided that I have to wear a yellow and blue tie in solidarity with the people of Ukraine. And then I called my council mates and told them what I was doing. And I assume I caused some senatorial problems for folks as they tried to find blue or yellow that works if they wanted to do that. I appreciate the support. I think we all look at what's going on there and are grateful to be where we are. And, you know, I really want to thank the mayor for his advocacy for his constituents with the low speed vehicle thing. I think it's a great example of local government working well. Somebody had an idea, we talked about it, we worked through it. The new guy realized that we don't like parliamentarians, but it was all, it was civil. And that's the kind of leadership that gets things done. And there weren't egos involved. It was just great. And so I'm proud to be a part of this organization for just such a reason. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
PJ.
No, I don't have much, but I really appreciated all my constituents and just like you said, the email to HOA, we did it also. So because of those things, people really came forward and asked the questions, and they were a little bit nosy about what's going on and what's not. And there was, you guys didn't get, but some of them question was way off of whatever they can ask. But overall, I'm glad they all came and they asked questions. And you guys have done a fantastic job to provide all the information, what they're looking for and everything. So thank you very much. And that's about it, sir.
Great. Two quick things. Number one, I just want to give a shout out to Neil Hensley, who's been such an integral part of the city for so long. Because of him financially, this is one of the big reasons why the city is so healthy financially. He is kind. Every time I met people who knew him, they said he was great to work with. He was always well prepared, and he could always bring things to us at a level that we could understand. He was able to simplify things for us. We're gonna miss him. Second, on Brian, I really appreciate you guys going for your heart and everything. That's what we're here for. And I'm not gonna ever comment about what other municipalities do or don't do or how they behave. But what I will say is I am really proud that we all, regardless of our relationship, vote from our heart, we do what we think is right, and we move on. I think it's fantastic. So thank you for that. We're moving into executive session for personnel matters to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official. Do I have a second? Second. Jamie, will you please call the roll?
Councilman Campbell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cole. Yes. Councilman Zerwanka.
Yes.
Councilman Gad.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Javari.